Hey, what's going on, everybody? Ryan Knuppel here, Noob Sports Show, episode 244. Hope you're all doing well today. It is Thursday, June 5th here, and it is an exciting day because we have NBA finals starting up tonight. I'm super excited about that. I'm an NBA junkie at heart, so I love the finals. I love the playoffs. Super excited to see what happens there. I think it should be a good series. I think OKC is going to pull it out, but anyway, we're not getting into the picks and predictions today at all, but Knup says OKC in 6 in this series, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, you're all doing well. We have another amazing guest today. I cannot wait to jump in and hear his story and kind of where he's been to bring the product to where it is today. So I'm excited to jump in there. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our guest today. We have Jeremy Stein of SportsGrid. Jeremy, thank you for joining me. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I appreciate you jumping on here. NBA Finals, I just alluded to in the intro. You have a team, you have a dog in the fight, or no?
Unfortunately, I don't. So I like this finals because it's two smaller market teams. I'm a Cleveland Cavs fan, so I am actually rooting very hard for the Thunder. I would love to see the Pacers lose. It was tough. It was really tough to watch the Cavs go down this year. I thought we had a really strong chance to make it to the finals. I think Oklahoma City looks largely unbeatable, but it was very disappointing to go down to the Pacers.
Yeah, the Cavs, they really did. I wouldn't say lay an egg, I mean, they had a great regular season, and it's just that happens, right? You run up against a team playing hot. So anyway, this is not about sports here today. This is about you and SportsGrid and what's going on with your product. So Jeremy, give us a little background of you and kind of, I guess, your path, your journey, your history that kind of led you to starting SportsGrid.
This dates all the way back really to 2015. In 2015, I began playing daily fantasy sports in a full-time capacity. I left a pretty stable job at the time at Metamorphic Ventures, which is an early stage venture fund here in New York, to really kind of go out into the unknown. Daily fantasy sports at that time was going parabolic, the market, right? I'd say 2015, 2016 were like really the heydays. And I started everything maybe about 2 weeks before Eric Schneiderman really dropped the hammer. So it was kind of an interesting time, but I found a lot of success. I played for, about 18 months. And at that time, things started getting a little bit more difficult, right? As things become more legal and really as kind of the venture capital dollars really stopped flowing into the ecosystem, the market got a lot sharper for a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. And it was around that time where I had met my co-founder, Lou Mayon, and he had a lot of distribution. I had a lot of predictive technology. And we had this thesis that, sports media was largely data, right? Especially in the context of sports betting. You don't need, a body or a team of people to predict tonight's Yankees game. And you certainly don't need a lot of people to recap last night's Yankees game, right? You just need a host who, is intelligent, who can speak about sports and actually hold an audience. And if you feed them enough information, you should be able to get to a pretty good production. And that's really what we did. So we started SportsGrid in 2017. Before PASPA was repealed, we took the long-term view that sports betting was going to become legal. And actually, my co-founder nailed this. He said within 1 year of us starting, sports betting would become legal. I didn't believe it. I thought that there was no way. I thought it was going to be, at least a 3 to 5 year journey. But we really kind of timed it perfectly. And the way that I like to think about SportsGrid is that it's really a once in 100,000 lifetime opportunity. I'm never going to find myself in 2018 with the right asset at the right time, not just sports betting, but also connected TV, because connected TV was really starting to take off then, at a time where the government just flips the switch and say, grow in ways that you never thought were imaginable. And I think that, we've really kind of taken advantage of that, because here we are 8.5 years later, and we're still growing it over 100% year over year.
That's amazing. That's a cool story. And yeah, it's sometimes business is right time, right place, and kind of jumping in at the right time. And it sounds like you really did. But having that vision is also something that's super important. So for those listening, I mean, SportsGrid, obviously they probably have an idea of what you guys do, but let's really narrow into, I guess, the site and the product and all the offerings that you guys offer, and kind of at a high level, what is SportsGrid?
So we are a connected television streaming network. We are the #1 free ad-supported television channel in sports. So SportsGrid, we are currently producing 18 hours of live original video content on a daily basis. That's streamed on over 30 different platforms, everything from Samsung TV Plus to Roku to Amazon Prime. Effectively, you turn on your television, SportsGrid's there. And we have extreme scale within the category. We own over 35% of the market. And last year we did 240 million unique sessions that we were able to measure. And it's growing rapidly. This year we're already, pacing up 50% from an hours of viewing perspective compared to the same period last year. So we really have a big opportunity. And what we've really discovered here at SportsGrid is that we've cultivated a large audience that likes to gamble. It's not just related to sports. 90% of our audience is interested in retail casino, social casino, sweepstakes casino, and we've really started to go in that direction. So, about a year ago, SportsGrid started creating casino content, and we are quickly becoming the largest producer of casino content on the planet. And for us, it's a way to not just super serve our audience, it's also a way to super serve our clients, because sports books like FanDuel and DraftKings and MGM, they also operate online casinos. So it really allows us to touch the full life cycle, both our customers and our viewers.
Very interesting. You've said the word content many times, and I'm a content guy through and through and through. But there's so many definitions of that word. And what I want to really nail in with you right here, I want to talk through is it's like SportsGrid really took video content to another level before video content was cool. I mean, honestly, it was like, how did you see that? Because most people, when they kind of jumped into this space, were like, oh, we got to have, articles and writing and all this stuff from a textual side. But you guys jumped right into the video side and really took that as that's what we're doing. I'm just interested in that whole perspective of how you guys had that forward thinking on video back 8 years ago.
So it was really a white space. Like, if you look at the companies that are built around sports betting and gambling, they are what you said, right? They're largely affiliate. They're largely SEO based. And it's very, very competitive. There was nobody that was doing video at the time, and connected TV was brand new, right? We've gone from literally people saying OTT, over the top, to fast, free ad supported TV in that time. And you could get distribution. When SportsGrid began, we were the only live fast channel in all of fast. It was just playback. So when I say playback, think like maybe like the 2.5 Men channel, people that already have IP, they just put it on fast and they air it because it's just extra dollars for them. We were the only ones that were actually creating live content. And back then it was very easy to get distribution. There were a lot of platforms that were lighting up, and they were taking all of the content that they could get because there were not many people doing this. And that really became a big moat for us, because now there are over 2,000 fast channels. We don't need more of them. So the platforms have really clamped down on getting distribution. I think it's near impossible for those that are starting today and existing fast channels, even like SportsGrid, for us to get new distribution. If I wanted to light up a second channel, it would still take me 6 to 9 months with a distributor. And that's, already having the reputation that we have, that's already having the technical ability and, proving that we can do it. So it's very difficult in this day and age. And it's really just kind of going to where that white space was. We're not good at SEO. We know that. We work with wonderful partners in the affiliate space, and we've always done what works for us, and that's connected television. We just continue to double down on video.
Well, props to you. That's pretty amazing. And I'll admit, I'm a consumer of what you're doing on YouTube TV, so I'm watching you every day. But let's talk a little bit about 18 hours of. You said 18 hours of live content every single day is I think what you said. Correct me if I'm wrong. let's just talk through the challenges of that, or let's talk through the how do you execute that from 18 hours of content live a day. Talk through that a little bit.
It's interesting because if you actually look at all media companies, very few are producing that amount of video. And you're talking about, everything from CNN to ABC, the live broadcasters. So it's really important for us to find repeatable formats and to also have a dependable roster of talent. SportsGrid is a small business. We are only 32 full-time employees. So you need a very large roster of talent to be able to, produce that much on a daily basis. So that was step one. Step two was also developing the right architecture and infrastructure to be able to deliver the feed. That's incredibly important because you need to deliver stable feeds to the platforms. Not only that, SportsGrid also does this in a way that is compliant with the FCC, right? So we have closed captioning, we have everything that is actually required to go linear. And we have gone linear in the past. We've syndicated our network on linear channels. And we have also syndicated shows even this past year on linear channels. So we're really flexible. And really what we have focused on, our KPI, is cost per video hour. So it costs us $2,150 per video hour to run the entire company. That's not just producing the content, right? That's salaries, that's legal, that's office rent, everything goes into that number. And really what we've done is we've built pretty much the most efficient content creation company on the planet. I don't know anybody that can create what we do for that cost.
Yeah, that's I can't even imagine. That's amazing. Let's talk about the people a little bit. I pulled up the end of the shows. So it looks like you guys are hosting many shows. So let's talk a little bit about the shows that you're hosting across all sports. I'm assuming you're kind of very versatile in the sports that you're covering, but talk a little bit about the lineup.
So we have a pretty stable lineup, right? The way that we're kind of architected is we have a core host for every single show, and that's repeatable every single day. And then we have guests that come on, and our guest roster varies, right? And it's interesting because when we first began, the hypothesis was, SportsGrid is going to be competitive in pregame analysis and postgame analysis because we don't have live rights. We found that that's actually the opposite. People consume SportsGrid the most when live sports are happening. And I think that actually represents an interesting shift in broadcasting rights, in the sense that, right, your mobile devices, your cell phone, many people are now consuming sports and sports content on their cell phone, and their second screen is effectively the television, right? And that's kind of on in the background. And I think that that's a really interesting shift in consumer behavior. And it's really something that we've actually been able to prove at SportsGrid.
So what about social media influencers? Are you guys doing a lot on social as well? Or are you really sticking to the kind of the TV channels type setup? Talk about the social side or influencer side to kind of help SportsGrid grow.
So we do leverage social media for SportsGrid, right? We're creating 18 hours every day. We don't need to create more content for social. So a lot of our existing network flows through our social channels. Where we are really investing heavily in social and influencers is around casino. Casino is a very high growth area for SportsGrid. So we have big deals with people like Paige Sporanic, Brian Christopher, people who are both known in that world and not known in that world, who we think have an audience that looks like the actual customer base. We are now leveraging those audiences to help our customers, convert into casino influencers. So I think it's a really interesting area. I think that, casino content, right? It lives less on the big screen, less on the television. It lives more on things like kick.com. It lives on YouTube. And I even think you'll start to see it infiltrate things like Instagram a little bit. So that's really where we're focusing our social resources. And this kind of doubles back a little bit to what we talked about earlier in editorial, right, versus connected television. Social media, I think, has largely been solved, right? It's very difficult to create an account today that goes from 0 to a couple million followers. But again, right, casino is kind of that white space on those platforms. So I think we'll find a lot of success there, and we've seen a lot of early success.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think, I hear this a lot actually, is, kind of, we started in sports, now we're in casino, we're kind of transitioning from different, niche within gambling. Why do you think that is? Why is casino kind of that natural next progression? It seems to be kind of more popular right now than it was 8-10 years ago.
Well, so it's driven by two things. First, it's driven by budgets, right? We see large budgets right now that are coming from the sweepstakes industry because they're operating under a lottery law, which enables them to operate in states where you can't operate from a regulated perspective. So there is that demand from a budget perspective. I think that in sports betting, right, it's kind of a known quantity. We have over 30 states that are legal. We have a very strong forecast of what's going to happen in the future. And that also goes back to budgeting purposes, right? People understand their customer acquisition costs. It's not 2018 where it's grow in every single way imaginable. It is a little bit different. So I think you are seeing, companies that are shifting towards that because a lot of them, they might not have, any choice but to. But also from a regulated perspective, casino is a huge profit center, right? For FanDuel, DraftKings, they make a lot of money, you name it. It's also a growth area. There's only 6 states right now that have regulated casino. While it is a slower onboarding, method than lighting up in new states like sports betting, it will happen. Right. So you have a lot more states that are going to be ready to go in the future. And I think that those businesses want to get out in front of it.
Thank you for that answer. Appreciate that. So what's the future look like for SportsGrid? What's what's the next year or two look like? What are you guys working on? What can you talk about that is the future?
So we are working on our second vertical, and that is casino. It's going to be nested on SportsGrid. We're already airing these shows. But at some point in the future, we would like to move it outside of SportsGrid and have it become its own brand. I can't say for certain that it's going to wholly live on Fast. We are going to be a lot more social heavy with that type of an audience in the YouTubes of the world, the Kicks of the world. But that's something that's very exciting for us because we've been looking at new verticals for a long time. And we wanted to find the vertical that helps us serve our viewers. It helps us serve our customers. We looked at finance. We looked at crypto. And casino, of course, is just the natural progression for us.
Absolutely. Well, Jeremy, you've been in this business a long time. You seem like a very well-rounded, polished entrepreneur. I'll call you an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever we want to call people like you. I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what's one piece of advice you'd have for upcoming entrepreneurs, somebody starting something in this crazy sports business world we all live in? Somebody starting something, has an idea, wants to start something. What's one piece of advice from your 8 to 10 years of entrepreneurial experience?
I'm going to pass on advice that I got myself, that it's always easier to keep going than it is to stop. Entrepreneurship, it's hard, right? So I went to Babson, and we like to say at Babson that entrepreneurship is a fancy way of saying that you're unemployed. And that's largely true, right? In like the early years. And it's hard, right? Starting a business, it's not easy, right? You have to go in with all of this optimism. You have to be aware of the downside, but you have to be a blind optimist, right? That's kind of the reality. You're going to hit a lot of bumps along the way, and sometimes you're going to want to stop. But it is always easier to keep going. And now I really know what that means by that. Like if you wanted to shut down, a company, it's a legal entity. So it's going to be beyond just like stopping the actual operations. Like it's going to be a year of your life of winding up, creditors, chasing investors for signatures. There's a lot that actually has to happen. So oftentimes, right, it is easier to keep going, to fight through the pain. And if you just survive long enough, eventually you will find your way. And I think that that's what happens with a lot of successful businesses. There's no such thing as an overnight success. Anybody that is an overnight success has been toiling away for 5 years, but quietly doing so.
Yeah, you just heard of them at the last minute. Great advice, Jeremy. I appreciate that. Okay, well, I mean, this has been an amazing show, amazing interview. I'm so glad. I can't believe it's taken 244 episodes to get you on here. I should have had you on here 200 episodes ago. But that said, what do we miss? What do you want to close up with? Anything we missed? Anything you want to say or talk about to the audience?
No, I think that this is a pretty good overview of where SportsGrid's at. And, honestly, casino's the future for a lot of the reasons that I outlined earlier.
That's interesting. It's gonna be fun to watch you guys pivot into that, not pivot, but move into that space alongside of sports. I'm excited to watch that and kind of see that journey as you go through it. So, well, yeah. I wish you all the luck, Jeremy. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it, and looking forward to having you back on in a year or two and talking all about the casino side.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care. We'll talk to you soon, Jeremy. Good luck.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Jeremy Stein of SportsGrid, guys. That's 244. What a great person. What a great company. I've really been amazed watching the growth. I mean, I was in touch with SportsGrid back when they kind of had the concept and started and all the above. I was kind of watching what they were doing, and just to see the journey, and now to see what it is, you look at what they have going on and you're like, holy crap, how are they everywhere, right? How are they everywhere? And, I think that kind of alludes to what Jeremy's talking to. Just keep going. You're not going to get to where you are unless you keep going through the journey. So keep going through that. And they're a testament to that with what they have going on at SportsGrid. So I forgot to ask Jeremy how to get a hold of him, but I'm assuming he's on LinkedIn, and I'll ask him after, and we'll make sure to put that right front and center on the show notes. So I'm sure you can go out to SportsGrid, contact him there. Check out LinkedIn. I'm sure you can get him on there as well. If you enjoyed this show, please make sure to like and follow what we have going on. If you want to see other guests that are in this space, please just reach out to me. I'm Ryan Knuppel. You can find me KNUP on most socials or out on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's a place to connect with all of you friends in this business. So, all right, that's it for episode 244. Take care, stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.